If I had a dime for every time that I heard, oh, Elena, I don't know if this is a placebo effect, if your levels of NAD would drop to zero right now, you would be dead in 30 seconds. Visceral fat around your waist, if you started accumulating.
I need to go to the store because I'm getting too hot.
Yes.
If you do all this, your sleep gonna improve as well.
If you have a very stressful meeting, this is gonna spike your insulin as well.
If anyone wants to invite Elena, Dr. Elena on a date, you have to talk to me first.
Welcome to my podcast. This is Dr. Elena Seranova, and we will be discussing longevity, productivity, and high performance hacks today with my good friend, Alla Rakhmatullina, another fellow Dubai expat and entrepreneur. Welcome to the podcast, Alla.
Thank you, Elena, for inviting me.
Absolutely.
My name is Alla Rakhmatullina. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm the matchmaker, and just a Dubai expat who's living the normal life and sometimes very stressful. And Elena, with your help, this life has become less stressful.
That's great to know, Alla. I'm always happy to help with anything related to longevity biohacking, because this is actually what affects our productivity. So a lot of busy professionals don't actually realize that it's very important to support their health, and they just neglect it. But as a result, they can't perform as well at their work and other areas of their life.
Yeah, I mean, you and I, we have lived in different places, and different countries, cities have different attitude. Some people live to work, some people work to live, right? And in a place like Dubai, people do work a lot. This is what we hear from all of the friends that we have, even us. Sometimes we would like to meet, but we work so much and we get tired, and then we have maybe sometimes even no energy to go out and network and even share coffee, right? Do you think that in Dubai specifically, it is much more difficult to maintain, first of all, your own health, and then healthy relationship with the people? And what does it depend on?
Yeah, I think that Dubai is quite an eccentric city, so the conditions here are quite unique in terms of both the climate and how fast everything happens in the city. So we definitely don't have the best quality of air here in Dubai, as you might know. And actually there is a lot of sun, but a lot of us are just indoors all the time because of the weather conditions.
Yeah, that's why I heard a lot of people are vitamin D deficient, right?
Exactly, yes. So pretty much everyone in the UAE, up to 90% of the population, is vitamin D deficient.
Wow.
And therefore it's important to, support your health with vitamin D supplementation, and of course other
Why do we
supplements.
need vitamin D? Remind me again.
Vitamin D is essential for many reactions. It actually regulates our hormones. So without vitamin D, we're not going to have a healthy hormonal function. So a lot of our glands like thyroid and thymus and so on, they do rely on vitamin D to activate their function.
And those hormones are probably the ones who regulate our mood, right? And
absolutely.
Energy, okay.
Yes, yeah, so this is something very interesting to take into account when living in Dubai. And actually there is something else that not many people take into consideration here, because I know that many buildings don't even have windows that open. And what happens is that you actually need to monitor your CO2 levels indoors in order to make sure that you work in an environment where the oxygen percentage remain quite high. So there is like various reasons to do this. There are air purifiers and other devices that can actually improve the quality of air indoors. And I recently got myself like a little meter that actually measures the CO2 quality in my house. Yes, because as you know, I work from home. I have a beautiful home office setup, and I actually think that a lot of expats work this way because they work remotely, and it's kind of became a new norm after the pandemic to work remotely. So for myself specifically, I kind of modified my flat into what I like to call a biohacking nest, because I have a home fitness setup at my place with a treadmill and a bicycle and a couple of other biohacking devices as well to support my health and wellness. So I don't have any excuse not to do my fitness first thing in the morning, because I don't even need to get out of the flat. Right. So with that in mind, and because I also work from home, I need to make sure that my environment actually doesn't block my productivity and doesn't hinder my productivity. And that's the reason why, I monitor things like CO2 levels, as I said, but also when you mentioned the vitamin D deficiency, I also have a sunlight lamp that I turn on in the morning. Yes, correct. It's a very bright lamp that I turn on first thing in the morning for a few minutes while, I'm putting my skincare on and I'm taking my morning supplements.
So this could be a great hack for those people who also you work from home, but many people work in the offices, right? And they probably don't go out unless they have lunch or something, and still they're indoors.
Yeah, that's correct. So this is definitely something that I would recommend, because you do need that direct sunlight into your eyes in the morning as a signal that the day has started. So then again, like, this affects our
Is it
hormones.
better than coffee?
Coffee is actually something that you should take 60 to 90 minutes after you're waking up, because you have to basically make sure that your hormone, like your cortisol production, is not being affected. So first thing in the morning, it's actually not a good it's not a good way to start your day with coffee when you just wake up. So you should wait for at least 60 to 90 minutes ideally. So for myself, for example, the first hour I would turn on the sunlight lamp, and then I would take my morning supplement stack, and then I will also do my fitness, right? So I'll do a bit of treadmill, a bit of bicycle, some resistance exercises as well, which is crucial for longevity. And after that, like an hour later, I will have my coffee.
I see. And what about those people who don't have time in the morning for such a long routine? And they're not good at waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah, that's a great question, but here we actually have to ask why they are not good at waking up so early, because, and there could be a couple of reasons. So we actually have our natural chronotypes, which means that we actually have some genes that make us more inclined to wake up in the morning or to wake up later. So those are the people that we call night owls, and they naturally wake up very, very late, and they stay up until late. But actually, those people are a very small percentage of population, maybe up to 15%, maybe up to 20% the most. But actually, all of like the majority of people that say that they can't wake up very early, it's not because of that. It's because they actually don't take care of their biorhythms and their daily routines on a daily basis. And they do things in the evening that would disrupt, again, their hormones, their neurotransmitters in the evening, which will affect their sleep. So for example, if you're working until late, or you're stressed out, or you have work phone calls until late, which sometimes happens when, again, you work remotely, right? Because you can be having colleagues from the US and other countries, and you have to do those business calls in the evening. What will happen is that the cortisol production, which is the stress hormone, will also block the production of a neurotransmitter called GABA. So if the GABA is not being produced in the brain, you won't be able to produce enough melatonin to have quality sleep.
Okay.
Yes, for this reason, you either won't be able to fall asleep or to maintain being asleep. And then in the morning, you'll feel exhausted and you'll say, you know what, I'm not really a morning person. But that's not the case. The case is that you actually don't have like a proper evening routine and a proper, what I call sleep hygiene in this case.
Sleep hygiene, I like that.
Yeah. Yes, because it's very important, and sleep is actually something that affects everything. It affects our brain a lot, because we actually replenish the capacity of our brain for productivity during the night, and the brain basically needs to clear itself from different toxins while we sleep. The gray matter literally recycles itself when we're going into deep sleep, and if this doesn't happen sufficiently every night, you will be feeling exhausted on a regular basis.
I guess my grandmother has always been right, telling me that sleep is the best medicine for anything, right?
Yes.
Any kind of disease, tiredness, or anything else. So we do need, I like this sleep hygiene.
Yes, it's very important, and it's a big part of my life as well. So after sunset, I actually dim all of the lights in my house. So I block the blue lights basically, and I only have red lights inside the house. And then what happens is that, of course, I have my supplements stuck, and there are a few supplements that can prepare your brain to
We'll go into
sleep.
the supplements part, you know. I'm just thinking that for anyone who's a busy professional or just tired person, you know, people just get tired easily and fast nowadays, I believe, because I meet a lot of people, you know, and I want to do something with them, and they're like, oh, I'm so tired, I want to go for a nap or something like that. So not having proper sleep routine, that's one thing. What else could be really useful for people to look at and somehow evaluate, you know, and see if they're doing it rightly, you know, in the correct way, other parts of our day, right? Because sleep is there, and when we are awake, what is it that could help us to have less stress, have less pressure, and feel more energy? I think usually, you know, we're also very stressed and under, like, being very tired under certain circumstances. When we feel tired, when we don't have energy, even I know when I'm lacking energy, I'm more passive, right? I'm less enthusiastic about my day even.
Yes.
So even this is how we started, you know, talking more about biohacking, that I've noticed the decline of my energy, and even though I'm a person full of energy, you know me, right? I can do a million things in a day, but I started doing not a million, but maybe 900,000, and that's already noticeable, right? And that's how I started discovering about certain things. You told me many, and I probably cannot even remember all of them, so I'll ask you to share more about what kind of things people can do during the day, and imagine that they live a normal life, right? Maybe they have kids, maybe they work a lot, even weekends. A lot of people work even you know, a lot of my clients don't come to my events during the weekend at night because they say they work.
Wow.
Can you believe that? So I don't know if that's something that they did not do properly, that they're just working all the time. Maybe they're not productive enough or something. You know, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that going back to the conversation about what to do in the morning if you don't have like a whole hour to dedicate to your fitness routine, I think that everyone can find at least 10 minutes to get their body moving, even if it means just, you know, putting on some like fitness video on YouTube for free, just for a few minutes. Because again, it all depends on the signals that you're sending to the body in the morning that the day has started. So this is very, very important.
So movement. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. You have to kickstart the day with some movement, either cardio or resistance exercise. And then from there are a couple of things you can do. So during the day, you don't want your energy levels to fluctuate. So if we take a step back and we actually think about what is something, a major factor that will make your energy levels fluctuate throughout the day, as well as your focus levels, it's actually levels of insulin in the blood.
And how do we know what makes us like lose those things?
Yeah, so basically we can judge by result, and what people do is they, for example, they snack a lot during the day, and nutrition is a very important factor that can either support our energy levels or destroy our energy levels and actually make them fluctuate a lot. So what you want is you want steady energy levels and steady focus levels during the day. And
I want.
Yeah, Yes, so there are a couple of very simple hacks that anyone can do, regardless of their budget and regardless of how much time they have. And I'm not saying for people to start preparing, their meals like several days in advance for the whole week and things like that. There are actually small hacks you can implement. One hack that is super important is actually the sequence of food. So what you do is you eat the fiber first, and what happens is that you basically coat the gut.
Like a salad.
Yes, like a salad. So any kind of salad is good, and then after that you consume some protein and fat, for example, steak and cheese in my instance, because I'm a carnivore for quite some time now. And then because of that, if you want to eat carbs after this, you can. And then what will happen is this will minimize the insulin spikes in the blood, because then the carbs go into the digestive system, but it's already coated with all the fiber. So then it doesn't get absorbed so much, and it doesn't go that much into the bloodstream. So this alone will minimize the insulin spikes, the size of the insulin spikes in the blood. Why is this important? Is because when you do have those high insulin spikes, after a while you'll have a dip. And when you have a dip, you will have a dip in energy levels and focus and concentration as well. And then you'll be saying that, oh my gosh, I have brain fog during work day. Yes, of course, because you're snacking on carbs all day in the office, right? So this is how it works. So they are low carb snacks that someone can have, even just nuts, for example, not sweetened, just unsalted or even salted is fine. But basically nothing sweet should be consumed by itself. So this is the general rule of thumb, because if something has a sweet taste, by default it's going to spike your insulin.
So
even
if I want to eat fruits, for example, right?
Yeah,
I like fruits.
Yeah, so you basically need to eat anything else first. So anything else from fiber, protein, or fat, meaning that you can actually have some yogurt first, because this is fat. So you have a bit of yogurt, and then after that you have the fruit. And then this will also mitigate the insulin spike, and it will minimize it.
Okay.
Yes.
So food, exercise, sunlight, what else?
Yeah, so I think that something very important that also a lot of people don't know about is what are the optimal conditions for our heart system, for our cardiovascular system to function. And this has to do with temperature. So actually the ideal conditions for our cardiovascular system is between 15 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. If we are in an environment that is below 15 degrees Celsius or above 25, there is an extra strain being put on our cardiovascular system, meaning that our heart has to work harder to keep us alive.
Yeah, I remember how you were running from heat when we were in Bali.
Yes.
I was like, I need to go to the store because I'm getting too hot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So for me, it's kind of on autopilot, but I'm realizing that not all people think this way. So for me, I avoid the sun because in general, most of the time, because I don't want the DNA damage on my skin, because by default, this is what's happening. And when you have increased DNA damage on the skin, if you're exposed to direct sunlight over, 15-20 minutes, let's say, you'll start having the DNA damage. So then,
but do you get enough of vitamin D through that short exposure to the sun?
Yeah, I think this is okay. This is like 10 to 15 minutes is more than enough per day, or as we said, just the sunlight lamp. Yes,
so that sunlight lamp also gives your body the opportunity to produce vitamin D.
Yes, that's correct, because it's a very intense one. It's 10,000 units of sunlight, basically, and it's a wonderful device to have at home. Yes, maybe we can actually link this in the description of the podcast. I think it would be interesting for people.
I'll check it out as well.
Yes. Yeah, so as I said, I don't get exposed to sunlight more than this usually, because I don't want the DNA damage, because when you do have that, you actually have increased demands in terms of NAD. So NAD is a nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. It's a very important molecule in our body. In fact, is the second most important molecule in our body after water. And it sits at the Krebs cycle, and without it, we can't produce ATP, we can't produce energy. meaning that actually if your levels of NAD would drop to 0 right now, you would be dead in 30 seconds. This is how important it is. And it's actually serving as a fuel for many cellular reactions, including DNA repair. So when you're exposed to sunlight, direct sunlight, for more than 15-20 minutes, you're going to start consuming the NAD that you have in your body, meaning that you need more of it. And that's the reason why we supplement with NAD boosters such as NMN, for example, which is highly recommended to people that are exposed to sunlight on a regular basis for long periods of time.
So probably the day that I'm going to the beach, I should double my dose of NMN, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Yes, highly recommend. This is what I do as well.
Okay, this is something new I'm learning now.
Okay.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So when I'm indoors in general, I'm trying to, I'm always monitoring whether I'm actually outside this 15 to 25 degrees range, and it's on autopilot in my head, as you said. I do it subconsciously. I don't even realize that I do it. And then the other thing is definitely the exposure to sunlight to make sure that it's actually minimal.
Mm-hmm. How can it all be related to stress? And energy, like all the sunlight, for example.
Yeah, I think that stress is something that everyone deals with nowadays, and especially here in Dubai. It's a very fast-paced environment. It's a very dynamic city. It's growing rapidly. And I mean, this is why I love it as well. And this is why I love living here myself, because I meet the most ambitious, amazing people that want to make an impact, and, they want to grow. They're into self-improvement, and they love getting out of their comfort zone, just like yourself, right? And this is why we're friends, because we have the same mindset.
Yes.
And with that, I think that a lot of people, including ourselves, sometimes we don't even realize what is the baseline of stress that we have on a regular basis, right? Because we're talking about this behind the cameras, that we don't even perceive it as stress anymore. It's just a way of living. We just have a million things that we need to be addressing on a regular basis.
I have a question for you about that. Because this is something we've been talking with you about, that when you're under a lot of stress a lot, you kind of get used to it, so that you ignore it and you don't notice it and you don't think you're stressed. What could be the signals of your body basically telling you that you're stressed? What is it that a normal person could notice about themselves? And that's little bell for them.
That's a great question. So two things come into my mind. So first is sleep disruption, and second is basically becoming metabolically unhealthy.
What is that?
Sounds horrible, to be honest. Okay, so there is a rule of thumb. Rule of thumb for this is that if you have visceral fat around your waist, if you started accumulating, no, I think you're just fine. But if you start having this apple-shaped figure, this is already the red flag that is telling you, look, something's going on in the body, and we actually are not able to cope, because with stress, with increased cortisol levels, which is the stress hormones, you start having disruptions in your insulin as well. And interestingly, I was looking at some very cool data recently, is that if you wear a continuous glucose monitor and you see what is spiking your insulin throughout the day, it could be a meal, but actually, if you have a very stressful meeting, this is going to spike your insulin as well. Yes, I know. So with that, what happens is that with increased insulin levels, you'll start having the visceral fat problems. Usually this happens through bad nutrition, processed foods, carbohydrates, and so on. So if you see that it's kind of challenging to basically maintain your figure, and especially if you didn't have any other changes in your routine, but your figure is not as easy to maintain as it used to be, this is definitely something that is telling you, look, we're not doing very well. We can't cope with stress. And then, of course, the second one, sleep disruption. And actually, this is very important, and a lot of people are complaining about this lately. And I mean, I'm gonna drop a bit of an exclusive info here, because we're actually about to launch our new product, which will be the first evening product that we will be launching, because our whole supplement range so far is supplements that you take during the day, but this is an evening one. And the reason we created it is basically a new proprietary magnesium blend, but it's not only magnesium. So we have calming botanicals in there and some cofactors in order to make sure that they actually relax your nervous system in the evening. And this is needed in order for you to produce GABA, the GABA neurotransmitter that will help you with the production of melatonin. Because if you're taking a magnesium supplement by itself without those cofactors, you're not going to have the calming effect from the magnesium. So this is very interesting. Yeah, so we have a proprietary AI that helped us to formulate this product, and it was very interesting to see all the biochemical interactions once the compounds get into the cell. So we were able to run those simulations and see what happens with the addition of the cofactors.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Even I have been taking magnesium before I go sleep by your recommendation, and I do confirm that it definitely improves. Even though I usually sleep like a baby, but on those stressful moments or when I don't follow the exact schedule, when I go sleep a little later, definitely it helps. It really helps. I notice the difference.
Yeah, and I know you've been taking the glycine that I recommended to you as well. So glycine is another interesting supplement, and the way I view it is glycine is basically food for your neurons to cope with stress, because you basically utilize the glycine molecules to produce more neurotransmitters. So it's super, super important for your brain, and I would definitely recommend to everyone.
I'm impressed how you know all this, and to be honest, I'm impressed since you remember that day when I was training for my boxing fight, right?
Yes.
And I told you that because I've been training very intensely, and I normally sleep maybe 7 hours, 6.5, but then I slept like for 10 hours recovering. Yes. And just with your recommendation of different supplements, I think this is one of the moments when I truly saw how supplements can affect. Because we spoke with you that I'm usually a person with the quite high base of energy, of everything. So whenever I take something, I don't really notice a spike, this immediate wow effect. But I keep taking it because I know that long term it's going to work, and it's going to help me maintain what I have. But on that moment of my life, I remember those 3 months that I was training, I remember how it really changed certain things. Like I felt it like in 2 days, the difference.
Amazing.
What would be the set of supplements probably for just a normal person, but who's very stressed, right? What would you recommend to take? Because, there's so many supplements in the world.
Yes.
Right? And how do you know which ones to take? Which ones are essential that you cannot live without? The others, how do you get them? Do you get them maybe through the doctor or something? What are the best ways to even start taking supplements maybe for someone who's never done that? Because I meet a lot of people, right? And I tell them, like sometimes I mention you that I have this friend who has a supplement company. I'm like, supplements, what is that? Like, what are they for? You know? You know best. So what would your be recommendations for people?
Yeah, so I think that if we don't have our health, it's very hard to succeed in other areas of our life. So I would suggest 100%. To start from the basics and actually have a blood test done at least, once every 6 months, I would say, because you need to see what are the deficiencies that you're having. However, that being said, there are a few things that everyone needs. And actually, I don't know if you know the story, why do we call vitamins vitamins? So basically, back in the 1920s, I believe, the scientist that discovered the vitamins, he called them this because it's vital amines. So all the vitamins are actually essential nutrients that we need. Vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, we need all of them. So at the moment, what happens is that our food is less and less nutrient dense. And for that reason, we don't obtain those vitamins from our food anymore. And, people eat all these ultra processed foods and carbohydrates, which is basically empty calories, and they don't have any nutrients. They have hardly any nutrients. They're very tasty.
They're tasty.
Yes, but we get all these vitamin deficiencies for this reason. And especially women actually are usually not consuming a lot of meat, so they consume less meat than men. And this results in iron deficiency and ferritin deficiency. So you can supplement with that, but what I would suggest is a good quality multivitamin that will be having all the essential vitamins, all right? And then from there, when you were training, I remember I suggested to modify your daily supplementation and to include branched chain amino acids. So amino acids also very good for us, and then creatine as well. So
I was taking a lot of creatine, I remember.
Yes, you can take up to 5-10 grams. People take even 20. There is a human clinical study showing that it's safe to take up to 20 grams of creatine. And interestingly, when you take such high amounts, it looks like at first a lot of it will be absorbed in your muscles, and then after that the remainder will go into the brain, which doesn't happen if you take a small amount. Yes, exactly, and it will fuel other reactions in your brain as well and support brain function. So definitely creatine, it seems like there is a lot of emerging data suggesting that it's a very important molecule for
so if you think a lot at work and solve some problems all the time, that could be something useful as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. But again,
I guess your blend as well, the NAD.
The NAD brain, exactly. So the reason why I created the NAD brain is because I was, like, back in the days, 3 years ago, I was taking around, let's say, 30 supplements a day, and then a third of them I was taking for my brain. And then I realized, wait a minute, there should be another way. And, especially when you're traveling, when you're working remotely, because I'm a person who travels as well. Like, usually I spend the majority of the winter months in Dubai, but in the summer I travel to Asia and, US and other places. So what happens is that you can't get the supplements that you want on a regular basis when you're traveling, especially in the dosages that you need them and so on. So what I did is I combined the supplements that I was taking for my brain in the NAD brain product. And of course, this came out of my PhD research as well at the University of Birmingham, because we were actually studying neurodegeneration and how the brain ages. So what happened is that we saw that there is this phenotype with increased oxidative stress, increased DNA damage, and a few other things that were repeating in cells that were degenerating. So what I did is I combined the ingredients that basically combat all of these hallmarks of aging.
Oh, wow.
And what happens now is that we already have data on wearable devices from our customers that show that after a few weeks of taking the NAD brain, you basically start having increased deep sleep, increased the duration of REM sleep as well, and also decreased resting heart rate. And the reason why this is important is because it basically shows that the gray matter recycles itself better while you sleep, and this is great for both physical and cognitive recovery. So this is important for top performance, for people, for busy professionals, but also amateur and professional athletes, because it basically brings down the neuroinflammation with this combination of nutraceuticals. And this is something that, like, we have the hypothesis about how it works, and next year we're already planning a human clinical trial at the University of Birmingham to actually show this result. Yes.
It's so interconnected, like everything, right?
Yes.
You kind of start with the brain, but the brain also affects your sleep, and then, wow.
Yes, absolutely. Everything is connected.
One thing you mentioned that also you travel a lot, and I know, because I read this on your website as well, there is a protocol for people who travel for jet lag.
Yes.
Right? Because I just spoke to one of my clients, and he was in between UK, Qatar, and then South Asia, and he was like, Alla, I cannot really talk. I'm like so jet lagged. I'm sure like I know so many people who live in Dubai, right? And they just work in between places and travel so much.
Yeah.
What would be the solution for them? What would be your some biohacking tips?
I actually was traveling a lot myself, and I had this problem myself. So anytime I would switch time zones, I would be jet lagged for like 2-3 days, and basically the day would go to waste because I was feeling so bad. I'm quite
Wow.
sensitive to jet lag, and especially, when flying transatlantic, for example. So what I did is I wrote this protocol because I wanted to hack this for myself. And well, spoiler alert, new product is coming very, very soon on jet lag specifically, so stay tuned for that. So basically, you need to make sure that you get ahead of yourself in terms of biohacking your own circadian rhythms the way you want them to be biohacked. So you basically want to reset in the new time zone, and you can actually do this before you even land in the new time zone. This is what I did this year because I went to the US. I flew from Dubai. I took the 16-hour flight from Dubai to San Francisco, and then 2 months later I went to Brazil as well. So I took the Dubai to Sao Paulo flight as well. To Rio de Janeiro, another 16-hour flight. So this was quite challenging. But actually, for myself, I already reset on the plane with a combination of supplements that I took. One of them is NMN, because NMN boosts your levels of NAD, and NAD controls our circadian rhythms. Because when you spike the NAD, this is the signal for the body that the day is about to start. So this means that 15 hours later, your melatonin will start being produced. And for that reason, if you
kind of break that pattern.
Yeah. So you basically take it during the time when is convenient for you in the new time zone. So for example, I was on the plane and it was already 7 a.m. in San Francisco. So this is when I took the big dosage of NMN. So for myself, usually I take 1 gram of NMN per day, but here I took 2 grams on the plane at 7 a.m. San Francisco time. And then I actually combined it with a couple of other supplements that I usually take in the morning, a couple of pills of NAD brain, and a few other things. We will probably put a link to the website as well for this. And
yeah, because I've been sharing this link with all of my clients and friends, whoever talks about jet lag. There you go.
I actually had great feedback on this already. A few people have implemented this, and they basically say that it's definitely working for them. So you do that, and then you also can implement a few other biohacks. So while you're on the plane, you can also listen to binaural beats, and specifically 40 hertz frequencies, because this will basically trick your brain into thinking that you actually are in deep sleep, which is usually very challenging on the plane, because it could be there could be some turbulence basically and such, and then you won't really get like a high quality deep sleep. But here you can do that, and this you would do just before taking your NMN and the other supplements. And I realized that I think I nailed the combination of the supplements, but what happens now is that you actually need to take quite a few pills while you're on a plane. However, this is where the next solution comes from NMN Bio, so stay tuned for that.
We're gonna put it all in one.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, we're going to put it in a sachet basically with powder, so then you can just have like a really nice
very nice
citrusy flavored drink while you're on a plane, and then you reset.
That's awesome. So basically we have, first of all, you wake up to sunlight.
Yes.
Even if you don't have the sun.
Yes.
You do the lamp.
Yeah, correct.
You should share the link, please. I'm curious. Even though I wake up with the sun usually. Exercise. I know it for myself as well, but I'm good. I'm usually doing a little bit of yoga, like 7 minutes.
Yeah, this is fun.
Not much.
Just
but
anything
just
to keep your
body fluids, that feels good. After that, definitely no coffee when you just wake up. This is, I remembered, only like an hour after,
yes, right? Yeah, 60 to 90 minutes later would be ideal.
Okay. And then definitely important breakfast, no carbs in the breakfast.
Yes, correct. Yeah, savory breakfast, no carbs. If you do want to have some carbs, always have them at the end. So never bread first, for example, right? So the bread
No
would
toast
go
with
last.
Nutella.
No, this is horrible for you. Please don't do this.
Only in Italy. But okay, so savory breakfast for sure. And I actually do a lot of these things, right? And I know that this is something it helped me to get rid of, is that crash of energy in the afternoon where I wanted to have a nap. So that definitely helps. And then all the supplements, right? And
yes,
important
exactly.
to do the blood test, not
Absolutely.
to take too much of something, probably.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, with most supplements, you won't have this problem because they're not being stored in tissues for too long. And then, you need to make sure that if there is some sort of a deficiency, you basically address it.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
And well, sleep is important, but I feel like if you do all this, your sleep gonna improve as well.
Exactly.
It's gonna be like a secondary effect in a way.
Yes, this is how it's usually happening. And, people tell me, oh, Elena, I don't know if this is a placebo effect, but I started implementing all of those things that you told me about, and now I feel so much better. If I had a dime for every time that I heard this phrase, yes.
It's awesome. Like people use this biohacking word a lot, and some people don't even understand what it is. But when you explain it like this, it's just healthy habits, certain routines.
Exactly.
Basically of something we do every day. It's not like something special. You don't have to climb the mountain, right? To live alone. It's like little things that
Yes,
that
exactly.
can help.
With little habits like this, you can basically optimize your health to quite a big degree.
Yeah.
Well, I think we covered a lot of very interesting topics today, and mainly we basically covered how we can optimize our health with simple hacks that can increase our energy and focus. And I think that those hacks that we mentioned, they are indeed quite simple to implement, right? So anyone could basically do it, even if they are short on time or budget. So my name is Dr. Elena Seranova. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. You can like and subscribe on YouTube, and you can follow me on Instagram on Dr. Elena Seranova for more biohacking tips. And of course, we had our wonderful guest today, Alla Rakhmatullina, and my dear friend.
You're also personal matchmaker, so if anyone wants to invite Dr. Elena on a date, you have to talk to me first.
Wonderful.
Because relationship is also a part of longevity, right?
Yes, absolutely. In order to have the balance in everything in your life and to perform as a professional, for example, you have to have optimal health, which is something we talked about today, and also mental health, and to be balanced mentally. And actually, we people, we are made to to have a circle of friends. So we are social creatures, and to also have a partner, because this is how
we should
life
talk
continues.
about that as well, because it's also maintaining good relationships. And I don't mean only men and women, it's also friendships, family, right? This is something that affects our mental, physical health as well.
Yes.
And I would love to talk to you more about it, maybe in the next podcast.
In the next podcast, guys, stay tuned.